Good afternoon. I'm not sure which microphone I'm going to use. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of Monday, April 28th. Please be advised a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted at the back of the chambers by the northwest door. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a short moment of silent meditation, and please remain standing if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. The order of business of the City Council is as follows. The clerk shall call the items listed on the agenda. Under public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on an item must first register and sign in at the table in the lobby. The council shall require any member of the public addressing the council to identify themselves, the name of any organization they represent, and their address, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. Each speaker should state whether they are speaking in favor or in opposition to the item, and testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item should come forward after the clerk reads the item and the applicant has presented. After public comments, the applicant may make one short rebuttal. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Mondays of the month, this is the last Monday, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on an issue not on the agenda for this day, nor planned for a future agenda. We ask that all speakers strive for civility and allow the business of council to proceed unimpeded. Madam Clerk, would you read the first item of business?
Our first item of business today for the City Council meeting of Monday, April 28, 2025 is our consent agenda, sections 1, 2, and 3.
All right. Is there a staff person ready to present? Good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you. Riley Slezak, Mayor's Office, 555 South 10th Street. Good evening, City Council members. It is my pleasure to introduce Lynn Ayers to you. The Mayor is nominating Lynn to serve on the Citizen Police Advisory Board, or the CPAB. As you know, the CPAB serves in an advisory capacity to the Mayor and to the City Council. The mission of this advisory committee is to review complaints concerning police procedures and policies and to make recommendations on discipline and policies based on these reviews. Lynn has served our community in a variety of ways for over 40 years. Most notably as the founder and first executive director for the Child Advocacy Center from 1996 till 2020. In that role, Lynn trained over 350 officers across the state in the forensic interviewing of child victims. She is seeking a role in the CPAB to make sure all voices at the table are heard and that the police response is measured, fair, and respectful in accordance with city policies. I'm pleased to introduce Lynn and ask that you support her nomination. She'll make an outstanding contribution to our city on the CPAB.
Welcome, Ms. Ayers.
Thank you, I guess, for this opportunity to serve and continue to serve our community in any way I can. I didn't give you my name and address. Did you need that?
I do.
Lynn Ayers, Ayers, 944 North 55th, Lincoln 68504. I do look forward to serving in this capacity because I think I bring some unique sets of skills and backgrounds to this position, both having advocated and championed victims for over 40 years to make sure that their voices are heard and that they're treated fairly, and also working closely with law enforcement in the investigation and prosecution of child abuse cases. I think I have a unique understanding of what the impact is of extended exposure to violence and trauma, both from a victim's perspective but also from law enforcement, and just wanting to learn more about how the department addresses those concerns for officers, and just wanting to serve in any capacity I can and help.
Thank you so much. It is a really important board, and really appreciate your the long length of service you've given Lincoln and all of your endeavors. Do any counselors have any questions
Nothing else
From
to
Ms.
add.
Ayers?
No.
Well, then, thank you so very much for your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, City Council. Maggie Stuckey-Ross, Director of Parks and Recreation, 3131 O Street. And I'm here with two nominees for the Veterans Memorial Garden Advisory Council. As you know, the Vets Council is responsible for advising the department on all things related to the Veterans Garden. We do events in the garden throughout the year. They also advise on potential memorials and monuments that can go in the garden, and a number of other issues that come up. So we have two nominees today for you to meet, Isaac Rembolt and Drake Bray. I'll let them both introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their connection to the armed forces. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Director. Which of you would like to go first?
I can go if you don't mind.
All right,
So I'm Drake. My address,
please.
5448 Oldham Street. So I am an Air Force guy. I'm also a Fed civilian as well. My dad does some local government stuff down in Missouri, where I'm from. So I'm a relatively new resident to Lincoln, Nebraska, and looking for a way to, serve, get more involved. I guess this is my first introduction to doing something for city government. So I'm excited to learn about that and see what I can do, and maybe where it goes from here. So this is really exciting for me, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
No,
for Mr. Bray?
thank you for your willingness to serve. Welcome to Lincoln.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Hi, I'm Isaac Rembolt, 1805 Perkins Boulevard. I'm always looking for ways to serve my community, so this popped up and I kind of jumped on it. But I'm actually a fourth generation veteran, so my great-grandfather enlisted right before the end of World War I, was in Army Air Corps. My grandfather was Air Force Reserve as a civil engineer. My dad was a pilot in the Gulf War. I'm now a cyber intelligence analyst with the Air Force Reserve, and actually both my siblings are also veterans and served with me in an aircraft maintenance unit. But looking forward to bring that background and my experience to the Veterans Memorial Garden Advisory Council.
You got the whole name out. That's great. Well,
Yeah, thank you.
right. Well, we've got two Air Force veterans joining I don't know if we tried to balance Marine, Air Force, Army, but thank you so very much for, service to service. Thank you so much for your willingness to serve Lincoln in this capacity. All right.
You.
Mr. Christie.
Yes, Yohansi Christie, 555 South 10th. I think it's first 1A item on the agenda. I'd like to introduce Mr. Andy Berry. He is willing to serve on the Charter Revision Commission, and we are assuming that you approve him. We're very excited to have him join us. I could take a long time listing his resume, but I'll tell you a couple things about Mr. Berry. He graduated from Harvard cum laude in 1998. He's partner at Klein Williams, focuses on litigating disputes between businesses, individuals, and government institutions. He's admitted to practice law in at least Nebraska and Illinois, also in the District Court, Federal Court of Nebraska, and Colorado, I believe. Also, he's admitted to practice law in the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals and the United States Supreme Court. He was a law clerk for two different federal judges, one on the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals, another district court judge, I believe, in South Dakota. He's an adjunct professor at the law school, and I think he's done that for probably at least 8 years now, probably. He's received numerous awards and recognitions. He's one of our distinguished lawyers in our community, and assuming that he receives your approval, again, we're excited to have him work with us on the Charter Revision Commission. So thank you, and I'll let him introduce himself and answer questions and tell you whatever I missed or that he thinks you should know. So thank you.
Thank you, Andy
Welcome.
Berry. Oh, sorry. My name's Andy Berry. As Yohansi said, my office address is 233 South 13th Street, Suite 1900. My wife Jennifer and I have lived in Lincoln for about 20 years. I grew up in Northwest Lancaster County. I'd only add that one of the most rewarding engagements I've had over my career has been representing the League of Nebraska Municipalities and just seeing the effect that municipalities have on the well-being of Nebraskans, you know, in Nebraska and really everywhere else. I mean, I've really come to appreciate the importance of that and the importance of the legal processes, laws, and other procedures that govern municipalities. So taking a look at the city charter, I think will be really interesting and really rewarding if you approve me to do that.
Do any councilors have questions for Mr. Berry?
I'll make a question. Are you familiar with Judge Richard Sievers?
Yes. Yeah. He was
He was an Eighth Circuit judge, wasn't he?
he was a Nebraska Court of Appeals judge.
Yeah, appeals.
Yeah.
I went to school with some Berries, so.
Barry with an E or with an A?
With an A.
Yeah.
Roger Berry and Mick Berry.
What school was that?
Pius.
Oh yeah, those are they're like third cousins of mine. Yeah.
Welcome to Nebraska.
Yeah. My wife from New York says,
home,
I say, oh, these people are related. They have the same last name. She's like, no, that's not true. Like, no, you're in Nebraska.
It is that 1 degree of separation.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, John.
Yep. I have 1E as well, which is just a clarification. I think that all of the terms end in December, and this is someone who's already been approved. We're just clarifying the appointment. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Do any councilors have questions on this appointment?
I did want to have an understanding of that because it mentioned this from 2022. Well, actually, yeah, in 2022. I didn't understand why we needed to even know that.
Well, I think we just want the record to be clear that it was actually a partial term that he would have been approved for, and then that because all of the prior terms they actually end in December.
Oh,
and so
okay.
I think when that appointment was approved, it had the wrong ending date. And so we're correcting all those to make sure that the record's clear that all of these appointments end in December. So,
Okay.
yep.
All right. Thanks.
That's a great question. So the ending date, instead of being 22, is 25. 2025.
I think I don't have it in front of me, but I think we probably have December of 22 and 25.
Okay, yes.
Yep. So we're clarifying the prior one and then making sure that the current appointment has the correct end date.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone here in chamber? Oh, one more. Yes. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good evening, members of the City Council. My name is Steve Owen. I'm the Assistant Director of Utilities for Lincoln Transportation and Utilities, and I'm here speaking on item 1F. So 1F is a multi-year agreement for a water quality sampling station along the Platte River near LaShare, Nebraska. The reason we're bringing it before council is we've traditionally in the past have approved that with a 1-year agreement, which is simply a directorial order. The fact that this is a multi-year agreement, we need to bring that before council.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Any councilors' questions? Seeing none. All right. Thank you very much. And good evening to you.
Good evening, council members. I'm Thomas Schaefer. I'm Assistant Director for Transportation for the Lincoln Transportation Utilities Department, 949 West Bond, Suite 200. I'm here on behalf of item 1G, the on-call construction engineering services task order. You've seen several of these in the past. This is one of the requirements for our federal aid projects, so to bring these forward in front of you. This is for 56th Street. So I'm happy to say that there'll be a lot of happy people when we get this completed, and this is one stop in getting that completed. So here to answer any questions you may have on that.
All right. Are there any questions? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Schaefer. All right. Now, is there anyone here in council who would like to speak on any of these agenda items on the consent agenda, either 1A, B, C, D, E, F, and G? And if so, when you come forward, please let us know if you're speaking in favor or in opposition. Seeing no one coming forward, Madam Clerk, let's move to the voting session.
Item 1A is appointing Andy Berry to the Charter Revision Commission for a partial term to expire July 15th of 2028, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
So, Schob, Beckius. Any comments, questions? All right. Please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 1B is appointing Lynn Ayers to the Citizen Police Advisory Board for a term to expire November 17th of 2027, introduced by Carlson.
Moved. Second.
Second, Weber. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 1C is appointing Drake Bray to the Veterans Memorial Garden Advisory Council for a term to expire November 1st of 2027, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Beckius. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 1D is appointing Isaac Rembold to the Veterans Memorial Advisory Council for a partial term to expire November 1st of 2025, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Beckius. Discussion? Madam Clerk?
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 1E is clarifying the prior appointment of John Goldrich to the Lincoln Commission on Human Rights for a partial term from May 23rd, 2022 to December 31st of 2022, and reappointing John Goldrich to the Lincoln Commission on Human Rights for a term to expire December 31st of 2025, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Beckius. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 1F is approving the joint funding agreement between the City of Lincoln on behalf of Lincoln Water System and Lower Platte South Natural Resources District on behalf of the Lower Platte River Corridor Alliance to fund water quality data collection and reporting by the United States Geological Survey for real-time continuous water quality monitoring in the Lower Platte River at Lashara, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Beckius. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 1G is approving the on-call construction engineering services task order agreement between the City of Lincoln and Speece Lewis Engineers LLC for the 56th Street Van Dorn to Spruce Rehab Project, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Beckius. Discussion? Madam Clerk?
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Items 2A through 2C were introduced by Schob.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Beckius. Discussion? Madam Clerk?
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
All right. Let's move forward to public hearing on liquor resolutions.
I'll call items 4A and 4B together. Application of the Earth Florals LLC, doing business as Of the Earth Florals for a Class C liquor license located at 8320 Glen Oaks Drive, and the related manager application of Dara Wells.
All right. Is the applicant present today? Welcome.
Hi,
Hi.
Natalie Ellsbury, 8320 Glen Oaks Drive. We are building a new store of the Earth Florals with an event space and looking for a liquor license for that space.
All right. Are there any questions for the applicant?
Thank you,
Mr.
Madam
Beckius.
Chair.
Yes,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman.
Could you tell us a little bit about your business?
Yeah, so currently we're a flower shop. We service all of Lincoln. We do weddings, daily deliveries, that kind of thing, and gifts. And we are going to continue that, and then we're adding a small event space for 100 people, as well as a cafe.
Very good.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yes.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here in chambers who'd like to speak on this application specifically, either in support or in opposition? Seeing no one coming forward, we'll move to the next application.
I'll call item 4C and 4D together. Application of TFL Inc. doing business as Mega Saver for a Class D liquor license located at 5700 North 33rd Street, and the related manager application of Kamol Samiv.
Good afternoon. Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is James Carson, 4611 South 96th Street, Suite 164 in Omaha, on behalf of TFL Inc., the applicant.
Okay. All right. So you're their attorney today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. First, let's begin. Councilman Beckius, or did somebody else over here? Were you motioning, please?
No, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming down today. I appreciate it. Looking at your application, it looks like we have a lot of liquor violations selling to minors. Can you walk us through that?
Yes, there have, obviously, I preface this by stating that we have a lot of liquor licenses. There are, I believe, 30 within the state. And if you look at those on the level of similar businesses, we're on the higher end, we admit, but we're within that range. And that has been addressed and is continuing to be addressed primarily through the implementation of the required ID reading before the registers are allowed to produce liquor sales. And then, of course, the training of the employees. Obviously, in this type of business, you do have a lot of turnover with employees, so continually training the employees is always one of the priorities. But those are the two key ways that we try to address those issues.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that, Madam Chair.
Are there any other questions from councilors on this application? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here in chambers who'd like to speak on this application, either in support or in opposition? Seeing no one coming forward, we'll move on to the next application.
I'll call item 4E, application of Kincaid Brewing Company, LLC, doing business as Sideshow Spirits for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 170 feet by 315 feet at 1630 P Street on June 7th, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Cody Schmick. You want me to spell my name? Do we do that?
I think we've got your name on
Okay.
file.
We're doing our third year of Whiskey Carnival, so this is our kind of fest that celebrates spirits instead of beer. We invite in about a dozen. Last year, I had about a dozen distilleries from across Nebraska and even into Iowa, Kansas coming in. We're trying to grow this event. A little bit different vibe than like a beer fest would be. We do it in the afternoon, 2 to 5. Super small samples with stuff like this, higher proof. But yeah, we'd love to do it again. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right. Does anyone have any questions? Councilman Beckius.
So you called it a carnival?
Yeah, that's just the brand of it. Whiskey Carnival is what we call it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I wanted to know if there were, side acts or...
We've talked about bringing in a big Ferris wheel before, but we got to grow the attendance a little bit more. We'll come and ask you guys before we do that. So
I'm very excited to see a Ferris wheel and whiskey mixed together.
It'd be great.
As one of the seating areas?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Now, if there's anyone here in chambers today who'd like to speak on this application, either in support or in opposition, please come forward. Seeing no one, we'll move on to the voting session.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make two motions.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion to approve items 4A, 4B, and 4E.
The second, please.
Second.
Second, Weber. Okay. Any discussion about this motion? Madam Clerk.
Carlson, Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to deny items 4C and 4D.
Second.
Weber. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
No.
Deny.
Deny. Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry.
That's all right. It gets
Deny.
confusing. Okay.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
All right, thank you. We can move ahead now to public hearing resolutions.
Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for April 1st through April 15th of 2025.
All right. I assume there are folks in the chambers today who would like to bring forward, would like to talk on one of these claims. Is that true?
Maybe the next item.
Okay. So if there's anyone here in chambers today to talk about the claims report, 5A, please come forward and state your name. All right, seeing no one come forward, we'll move forward to the next item, 5B. Madam
Item
Clerk.
5B is appeal of special assessment revolving committee recommendation regarding the water district generally located at Fletcher Avenue from North 7th to North 14th Streets.
All right. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening, council members. Laura Peglis with LTU Analysis Planning and Programming.
Okay.
So in an informal petition, a water special assessment district was requested for Fletcher Avenue from North 7th to North 14th Streets by Keith Spilker. This is the second request for a water district in this area. The first was received in 2023 and was before City Council in the spring of 2024. At that time, the district was not created. Prior to special assessment districts coming before the City Council to have the district created, they go before a special assessment revolving committee, also known as the SAR committee, and they meet to review district requests. So this year on March 4th, the SAR committee met and recommended to not forward the Fletcher district to the City Council. A couple weeks later, on March 26th of this year, the requester, Keith Spilker, submitted an appeal of the SAR committee's decision to the city clerk for the Water Special Assessment District on Fletcher Avenue. And I will put a map up. So on this map, the blue line represents the proposed water district that is the subject of today's appeal. So on this appeal, if the City Council grants the appeal of the water district, the requested water district will proceed with all steps to create the special assessment district. So that means that there will be a future public hearing to create the district, and we will update the estimated project costs. The water district, through that special assessment district process, may or may not be created in the end. Should you, as the City Council today, deny the appeal, the requested water district does not move forward, and that water main construction will not occur, and that district process will end. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Councilman Weber.
Thank you, Chair Washington, and yeah, thank you so much for presenting the information. So the recommendation from the, and I don't want to call it a committee, but the
SAR committee, the Special Assessments
the
Revolving Committee,
was not to bring this forward, and this is an appeal of that decision.
Correct.
Okay. Can you speak a little bit about the, and I know you said you'd have to update the cost of the project, but can you speak a little bit to that for me?
Sure. So in the council fact sheet, the estimated cost that I'd put in there was the estimated project cost that we calculated last spring in estimated $2025. So at that time, we were estimating a little over $1.1 million for the water district cost. And typically for that, property owners that have existing properties with wells already on them would pay a capped $65 per frontage foot assessment. And then the water department would pay the remainder for that cost. And this project included an update or an upgrade in the size of the water pipe due to the location.
And so that update would make it potentially more expensive, or what impact would that have?
It's hard to know exactly what that update would be. We would base it on a lot of the bid prices that are being received currently on projects.
Okay.
So some of those are still being bid right now for this construction season.
Yeah. Thank you.
I believe I have a question about any changes between the last time we saw this application and this time. Let's stick with cost for just a moment. If property owners are assessed $65 a frontal foot, what is the remainder that's left for the city of Lincoln?
So on this estimate, the assessments would be about $330,000 to the property owners, approximately, and the water department's portion would be over $800,000.
Okay. Besides the potential that cost could go up in this, at this time, if this were to be approved, have there been any other substantial changes in the facts on this application?
There were no additional facts that were listed in the request for the district. There is nothing different from the health department's perspective. I spoke with a couple people there as well. They do inspections of the wells annually, and they did not have any concerns at this time.
All right. Councilman Beckius.
Thank you, Chair Washington. Has there been any change in, that you know of, regarding the neighbors who are wishing to participate and those who are not wishing to participate from the last application?
I don't know the specific difference in that, but I believe that there are some folks here today.
I believe there are. So, okay, very good. Thank you.
Councilman Duden.
The applicant, can you point out which lot is his?
Sure. His lot is 900 Fletcher, the long rectangular one here.
It's my understanding he's the only one that wants this.
You would have to talk to the property owners, because I have been in contact with the requester, but I have not specifically spoken to some of the other property owners. It's my understanding that they did send documentation to the attention of the city council.
They were in our mailboxes this afternoon.
When was this annexed? Can you answer that?
Let me see if I have that on me.
Was it 2017?
2017 is a number that's being stated behind me. I do not have it on me today.
8 years ago.
I could look that up specifically to verify the 2017 date while other folks come up.
I would appreciate that. I can't tell if a portion of it is annexed, but not all of it is annexed. So, yep, if you could look that up,
Yeah,
Yep,
appreciate
I will
it.
look that up.
I think I'd like to look at that too.
Okay. Thank you. If there are no other questions for Ms. Peglis. Oh, Councilman Shob.
Easy one. Ms. Peglis, thanks for coming forward, and thanks
Yes.
for explaining that. Tom, thanks for turning on my mic. Thank you for coming forward. Thanks for explaining as well as you did about the history of this. Just looking at your image on the screen, 10 properties affected? Just counting boxes, that looks,
Yes.
it's pretty straightforward on that part. Number of properties. Thank you. That's my only question, Madam Chair. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We will let you step away.
I will look that up. Would you like me to leave the map up?
Yes, please.
Sorry, I'll turn my mic back on. We'll allow you to step away and look at the annexation information.
Sure.
And we'll hear from others. Would the applicant like to come forward? Good afternoon.
Evening. How are you guys?
Well, Mr.
Good.
Spilker.
Good evening, City Council members, and thank you for allowing me time to speak. My name is Greg Roseberry, and I represent the property at 700 Fletcher. We're the corner right here. We are part of the appeal process of the proposed water district along 7th Avenue, or along Fletcher Avenue from 7th to 14th. There are a total of 10 properties involved, and we are the most recent home to be built in this community, completed in May of 2023. I sent an email to the council last week with more details, but I wanted to be in person to speak and answer any questions that you might have. When we received the most recent letter about the appeal of the council's decision to deny the creation of the water district back in the fall of 2024, I was curious as to why it needed to be voted on a second time. Clearly, she has answered that question, so I understand it completely now. Since the original water district proposal was started, I have been in contact with nearly all of my neighbors, and none of them has indicated that they are in favor of this project except the original property owner that requested it. Since nothing has changed since last fall, I hope the council still recognizes this as an unnecessary expenditure and denies the appeal. Thank you for your time. You guys have any questions?
I don't at this time. Thank you. Is Mr. Spilker here? Yeah. Since you're the applicant, I just wanted to give you a chance to speak early.
Thank you very much. Keith Spilker, 900 Fletcher Avenue. It's incorrect, at least, that I am the only applicant. The proposed, when I sent this to Laura, there were 2 additional property owners on that, as well as this appeal process in Craig Carlson and Linda Spilker. So they both have properties along Fletcher. So that's 3 that have asked for this, which is a little different than a year ago. Okay, just to clarify that. I did send you all some comments, but I need to start first with just some thank yous to, after the last vote, April 1st of a year ago, I contacted all 4 people who voted against it at that particular point in time. And I got responses from Tom Duden and Justin Carlson, which I very much appreciated, at least the dialogue. I did not get a response, disappointingly so, from Brody Weber and James Bowers. So I just want to publicly point that out for those folks who are listening, that hear the campaigns that people are out there saying they want to listen to their constituents. That has not been my experience. So moving on. Why do I want this, and has anything really changed? Well, number one, time has changed, but Laura mentioned the public health department. In December of 2022, as part of that annual well inspection, my well got marked as having too much bacteria in it, which was correctable at the time. One of the reasons to come forward here today is I don't want that to happen again. And part of the objections before were that it wasn't needed. And at the time, you're right, it isn't needed. But if I wait until it's needed, I started this process in June of 2023. We're a year and a half down. If I had waited till I need it, I can't get it, not in timely fashion. So we have that going on. The property at 1201 Fletcher, which Linda can address, just last fall, we did something similar, not because of a health department mark, because it was starting to affect some of the residents in the property in that the smell had gotten so bad. It was another kind of a bacteria issue, so you shocked the well. Again, trying to avoid those kind of things. The city brought us into, and Laura will confirm it, November of 2017. And at that time, all of the neighbors that are here today were against coming in. And one of the comments I had from a year ago was, well, not everybody's in favor of it. And that's right, they're not in favor of it. They'll cite cost. Greg will cite having to pay for it twice. My position is that the cost will not go down. I'm in the city limits and am entitled to city water and sewer, and this is the only way I can get it. We talked in 2017 about how do we get these things. Here's what the city gives me. This brochure from the city, create a special assessment district. That or an individual developer coming along are the only ways I can get water. And I will say that I need the water, not necessarily from a health issue that it's right there, but I want to improve my situation. And why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I take the opportunity to try to improve the situation for my family? And those other applicants can speak to it themselves. A developer does own property along. Can this be turned on?
Mm-hmm. It can.
You give it
One
just,
of the-
just 1 moment.
One of the 10 property owners does own this group, this big spot here at, excuse me, wrong side of the street. No, I'm not. 1220 Fletcher. A developer does own that and has owned it since 2005. And this process in 2017 with the planners was, well, you just wait for the developers. Well, I waited from 2005 to 2017 and they're still not here. 2017 to 2025 and they're still not here. And it will not help me, it will not help everybody else connect to water and sewer who may need water and sewer, because you have to be within 300 feet of whatever the end of the line is. The other concern I have is, as Greg mentioned, he is hooked up to city water by virtue of being within 300 feet of where it ends right now at 7th Street. And I would contend that we have a stretch of Fletcher Street from 7th to 14th, which is supposed to not get these city services, and yet part of the residents on there, 1 of 10, get those services. And at the time Greg put his water in, he signed a contract that said, if a special assessment comes along, you will have to pay the special assessment. And they can't argue now that he's got to pay twice when he knew darn well this could happen. He took a shot, could have gone through this very same process, gone through a special assessment district. I'm sure there are reasons maybe not to. Again, time being one of them. But I just feel that it's time for the city to allow city services to those who need them. Otherwise, why bring us into the city limits? One of the other benefits is we would get fire hydrants. The closest fire hydrant now is at either 7th Street or 14th Street. And again, city comes in when we are annexed and says, here's what you get out of the city. City.
Pull up a little bit.
Water, sewer.
Where did you say the fire hydrants are?
7th and 14th Street, where all lines end. If they turn this on again, so it's here on. There's one on this side of Fletcher and 7th Street. This what would that be? South east corner. And there's one somewhere along 14th Street up in front of here, I believe, or it's across the street, one of the two. So the LFR has to rely on, if we have a fire in my house, my location, tanker trucks. At one point in time, they had an arrangement with the volunteer fire department out of Raymond. I believe they've discontinued that because I think they've acquired a tanker to fight grass fires. Now, if that's out and I get a fire at my place, that doesn't help me. Now they got to run water from the fire hydrant 2 and 3 blocks away. Again, if I'm in the city limits, I should have city services, that being one of them. And it's the whole point of, if you didn't bring us into the city limits to give us city services, what was it for? And I would contend in that case, it was just for revenue. What am I getting out of this that I didn't have before? I had water. And then I grow up on an acreage, you know you're going to have, you got to put up with water, right? But now I have an alternative. I have a much better alternative for quality and quantity of water. And if we're not going to get city services of water and sewer, and I didn't even ask for sewer. I come here trying to get what I thought would be the least objectionable kind of solution. I'd like to have sewer too, but the cost of sewer will be double to all parties. And my sewer system, while aging, is a lot easier to repair than having to fight water if that comes to be an issue. So I took the route of doing something more visible, if you will, that tangible. I can see water, I can see the improvement in quality and quantity in the water, and the improvement in my quality of life.
Thank you, Mr. Spilker.
Sorry I went over time. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to ask them.
You are the applicant. Okay.
Thank you, Chair Washington. I appreciate it. Mr. Spilker, thanks
Yes.
for coming down. Appreciate you coming down. 10 property owners along the stretch that
Correct.
we're talking about, and my understanding from your testimony today is that we have 3 that are interested. Is that
Correct.
a fair
They are
assessment?
here. They are here, and they will speak for themselves.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Spilker. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Anything
Chair
else?
Washington.
Thank you. All right. Are
Thank
there any
you.
other questions for Mr. Spilker? All right. So if there's anyone else here in chambers who'd like to address this issue, either in support or in opposition, please come forward.
Good evening, council people. My name is Craig Carlson. I'm at 1001 Fletcher, and I am for this city water proposal. I've lived there for 34 years, which is almost half my life, and you never get used to this water. One other aspect, I mean, I totally agree with what Keith has said, but as far as a health issue goes, I like plants. I like gardens, I like trees, I have fruit trees, and I discovered early on that with my 75 grains of hardness, it is hard on the plants. It will actually kill some plants. It is hard on the soil. It builds up in the soil. So over the years, I have created a 1,900-gallon water catch. But it still doesn't quite take care of my needs. I have planted or transplanted over 200 trees on the property. So I am either water catching and hauling or just going. I have to drive a couple miles where I have access to water. We used to go to the fire hydrant, and it was fairly reasonable, but now they've changed their whole format of charges, and so it's gotten cost prohibitive to rent a meter and to pay for that water. So I'm struggling along, and actually I probably won't dismantle my water catch, but I would really enjoy, especially these last few of droughts where I don't have to, pack up my 500-gallon tanker and go in and fill up water just to keep plants alive. So that's kind of my little bit of what I consider a health issue here too. I think we should have a right to be able to grow plants and to irrigate them here. So that's all I have to say. If anybody has any questions, but
I actually would like to know, would you show us which property is yours? I'm just trying to get a feeling for the geography here.
or the 1001?
On the paper.
How do I do this? Oh, on the paper here.
Yes. Just
Okay,
point
so
your
I'm
finger
right
down.
here.
Okay. So you're catty corner across the street from the
Yes.
applicant. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Is there anyone else here who'd like to speak on this application? Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Linda Spilker. For 40 years, I lived at 1201 Fletcher Avenue. That would be right next door to the man who just spoke. We found that we were replacing water heaters before the, what do you call it, the warranty was expired. Took a disposal every 2 or 3 years. The hookups for the washer, where you turn the little handle to get water or not, the water just ate up the handle. So we had to replace all that. We remodeled the bathroom, and within weeks I was seeing rusty stuff coming out where the handlebars were, the grab bars. And it would have been so nice to have city water all of those years. But no, I have a grandson and his wife and a baby living there. And we'd like to have them have good water too.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Spilker? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward?
Larry Ogden, 1300 Fletcher. I'm right here.
You're not the big one.
No,
Okay.
that's Heartland Homes.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I did talk to Andrew Hartman, which is a representative for Heartland Homes. Now, they do not need that water line coming down Fletcher Street because they have water coming up from the north, coming south. And I know Craig wants it, Keith. let me say, we would all like it. But this cost of this is, to my opinion, ridiculous. I mean, we're 10 people here, whatever. I don't know if we can negotiate this at all or not. I feel that there was bad planning on the city's part when they came through with that 28-inch main that's 75 foot out in my front yard that I can't hook up to. At that time, when they put that in there, I would have suggested that the city would have came to us at that point and said, hey, we're putting in this main, can we put in a regular line in at the same time? And that didn't happen. So, with the cost of this $65 a foot, which is what was last year, I don't know what it's gonna be now. You just have to expect that it's gonna go up. But still, I'm a single person. I've got one income. I'm thinking about retiring in the next couple of years. Most of us are all over 60 years old. Some are over 70 years old. And I just don't know where this extra money is going to come from. You know, our taxes are already so dang high. We're annexed in the city. You guys chose us to put us in there. And all we have is the fire department and the police department. That's the only city services we have. So, just like Keith said, Craig, we all think that we should have that. You guys wanted us, but now we have to make the payments on all of this. And you're not going to put it in with sewer besides. That just doesn't make any sense to me. That's just like that main line that comes out in my front yard that I can't hook up to. We don't have that water line. We're not going to have sewer, so we're going to come back around and put sewer in at the after point. For me, it would be easier for me to wait for Heartland Homes to come along there because I'll be able to join into them. And it'll be a lot cheaper than what this is going to cost me. As I said last time, when I purchased this property or whatever, I went to the planning commission and said, well, when do you think we'd have city water out here? Oh, it's in the 20-year plan. Well, like Craig said, he's waited 34 years or whatever for it. Well, I'm the same way plus, you know? And what Mrs. Spilker said about the faucets, the plumbing, even after we get this city water and run it up there, I called the plumber today to see what potentially the hookup cost would be after this line is in that I've already paid $25,000 for. Well, it could be another $15,000 to $20,000 to run it to the house. And then at that point, are we going to have impact fees besides on that hookup? Are we going to have to pay an impact fee to hook up that also? And then, is our plumbing inside our houses going to be able to handle this pressure? Because we're all on a well now, and none of our water is that fantastic. It's corrosive, you know? You can't water plants and so forth like that. Keith or Don Spilker, he used to haul water to water all those Christmas trees. And like I said, we would all love to have the city water, but this cost, I think, is just too extreme. For 10 people, you've got a housing development there that owns 2 acreages that water is going to come up to, and sewer. And Keith and the other property his mom owns, and Craig, they could all join on to it. And once that 300 foot's there, I'm assuming that the other ones, if they wanted to hook onto it, they could too. Now the one neighbor, you know, has already got city water. I'm assuming the one here on this property here, the closest way he would get water is to go over here to these apartments, just like this neighbor did. But he's going to have to pay that frontage, and to bring that from Fletcher on up to his house is going to cost more than hooking it up over here off of 7th across the street. Okay. I just think there's got to be some kind of negotiation here on this, because this cost is just astronomical. I don't know why Keith wants to pay that, but you know, it is our choice, you know, as far as our quality of life. Like I said, you guys annexed us. All we got is that, the fire department and the police department.
Thank you, Mr. Ogden.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Had questions of that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Would you like to bring Mr. Ogden back? I'm so sorry. I think there's a question.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. If you could just stand by, yeah.
Can you point out on this map where this main is that you're talking about?
Yeah, it's right here on the whole north side of the ditch from 7th Street all the way down. I don't know where, I'm assuming they ran that main all the way from the tower, the tank, up clear back in northwest. You got any idea? No, they had that water tank clear back off of maybe McKelvey Road or something back there. There used to be a tank there. Now, I don't know where they ran this all from, but with Fallbrook and everything over here too.
Since that main is so big, that's why you can't tap it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's 26, 28-inch main.
Yeah.
30.
It's
So plenty of water there, but it sure would have been really easy to put an 8-inch or a 12-inch line right beside it or somewhere around there, all at the same time.
When was that main put in?
2005. All right. Are there any other questions
Like I said,
for
it's
Mr.
just,
Ogden?
to me, it was just bad planning.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Jane Duncan. I'm at 801 Fletcher. It's where my mom lives. It would be property right here. Her and my dad bought that property in 2016, knowing what it was like to be outside the city limits, to have a well, to have different water than being in the city. When you choose to live on an acreage outside of the city limits, you do have different amenities. Now, after they bought their property, it was annexed into the city. Nobody on that street was for being annexed. But it happened anyways, and I realized that there are things not provided that you would think would come from the city, and there are things that you're paying for that you're not getting services for. However, that being said, just to put the main, to provide water to these residents is going to be over $20,000 each for each person on that property. And it will have a big financial impact to everybody on that street. And it is an improvement. It will increase property value, but it won't increase property value enough to cover. And for those that have no intention of moving and who are retired, it is a big expense for them. And so I ask that you do not approve this. My mom has a nice yard. She waters her plants. She waters all of her flowers, and actually was an apple orchard. And they had a reservoir with a big tank that watered all of those trees. There was pecan trees, apple trees. She had the smelly water and the problems with the water when she first moved in, but she's put systems in her basement that filter the water, that does everything, and the wells are tested. And speaking with the neighbors, all the neighbors we have spoken to are against having this line put in. The expense is too great. However, the Spilkers are family. I mean, it's two separate houses, but really it's kind of one entity in a way. They're driving most of putting this line in, along with then the neighbor, Craig, who lives next to the tree farm. And so I realized that it would be more convenient. It would be nice to have city water, but living in the city, there would be water bills, especially if you're going to water acreages and water trees. I mean, I don't know if they know how much all that's going to cost. But just to put the line in doesn't even start to tackle the problem. My mom's property runs so far back, it would cost another double that, if not more, just to hook up to it, to her house. And then she would have her shot. Like, it would be a big financial burden on all of them. And it was maybe some poor planning, but understanding it also. when you annex people in and it wasn't planned development to be in the city limits, that all comes to play as well. So we ask that you do not approve this, but we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Ms. Duncan?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward to speak on this item? Thank you very much for taking the time this afternoon to come forward. Ms. Peglis.
You were asking for the annexation date, and it was annexed by application number AN 17015, and the effective date was November 21st of 2017.
And then what area is annexed? If you could, is it the entire scope of what we've been looking at this afternoon?
All of it except for the portion owned by Heartland. The developer, that was annexed in 2020.
Okay. Councilman Beckius.
Thank you, Chair Washington. Could you walk us through a little bit of the policy in place in order for the city to effectuate water service on a not in a landowner assessment district, but let me ask it this way. Would the health department recommend the implementation of these water lines if there was a health concern?
I can't speak for the health department, but their answer might be different.
Mm-hmm.
When I talked to the couple folks this morning, the wells are permitted through them and they are sampled annually.
Mm-hmm.
They have not had any issues other than the one that Keith Spilker mentioned in 2023 for the bacteria, and they told me that chlorination takes care of that issue, and that could happen on any well in any location. They test for bacteria and nitrates.
Okay, very good. That's what I needed. Appreciate it.
Question.
Councilman Duden.
What is the policy after the city annexes an area as far as providing water, sewer?
Let me see if I can, I'll bring Thomas up for this one.
Thomas Schaefer, Assistant Director for Transportation, 949 West Bond, Suite 200. The city has had a very long-standing policy that the benefited property pays for the mains. In some cases, that's through the annexation agreement when they're voluntarily brought in, that they will do that. Almost every new home built in Lincoln, the price of that main, whether it's water, wastewater, or the paving, is recouped through the sale of the lot. But in these cases, it is through an assessment district, and the $65 a foot is to represent a cost that is similar to doing that in a bare ground situation. So the city subsidizes, in this particular case, the majority of that, while trying to recognize and put a cost that would be similar if they were coming in a voluntary situation. But that has been, assessment districts go back over 100 years. I've seen ones from the 1900s.
There was a question during the public testimony about impact fees and whether or not there would be an impact fee charge on top of the linear foot charge.
Yes, there would be an impact fee because that is a new service connection onto the system, and so there's an impact to that. It helps pay for not only the cost of the main that's being built, but it's also for the water treatment in this particular case. Part of that impact fee goes for helping pay for the system improvements that will have to happen as we add property owners on to
And
the
that's
system.
is that a one-time cost?
Yes, impact fee is only charged when you hook up to the system.
Okay. I have one more question, but I see that Councilman Becky I'll let you go first. I've gotten two questions.
Thank you, Madam
in
Chair.
already.
Mr. Schaefer, in most annexation agreements, it's also common when the annexation is brought forth or requested by the City of Lincoln for grandfathering to take place for existing wells and for existing septics, unless, say, for example, we're within 300 feet of water being installed. That's correct. I don't know.
That's
the
my
specifics.
understanding, yes.
I don't know the specifics about this particular annexation agreement, but that would be typical, correct?
That would be typical.
So landowners can continue to utilize their existing septic and wells until such time as they choose to do something else, or they're within 300 feet of a connection point. Is that fair?
Yes, that's
Okay.
fair.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
That raises a good question. So the 300-foot connection, being within 300 foot of the connection, would every property here be within 300 foot of a connection if a line came down Fletcher?
So it's not 300 feet of the dwelling, it's 300 feet of their property. So as their property does touch Fletcher, and this line would be in the Fletcher right-of-way, and they touch the Fletcher right-of-way, they would definitely be within 300 feet.
Are they required to hook up because they're within 300 feet?
No, they're not required to hook up to water.
To water.
Within 300 feet.
Okay. All right, so that's still their choice. They would pay for the linear footage, but they wouldn't have to connect to their house.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Could I also have City Attorney Abby Luttrell confirm that for me as well?
Tom, I have a question for you before you walk off.
I'll stay.
All right, stay.
Now, I don't have that information in front of me. I think Laura's right that it's required for sanitary sewer, but I'd have to confirm in the code that it's required for water. But the testifiers are correct that the service line from the property line to the dwelling would be entirely the property owner's cost.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
My question is, in other annexed properties, how close do the fire hydrants have to be?
For them to hook up, or?
Well, for safety purposes. What's recommended?
I am not a fire expert on that, on there. I think as they testified, the fire department has different ways to do that. It doesn't have to have a hydrant there, but they have other ways they can.
They said there's one at 14th and another one at 7th. So there's 7 blocks apart.
That's correct, I believe.
On the center of that map, I don't need it to come back, but on the center of that map is a large parcel owned by Heartland Homes.
Mhm.
Would they also have to pay the $65 linear foot cost?
Yes, they would have to pay. They would have to pay. I think we'd want to visit with that, because that 65 is intended to be for a individual property owner, not for a commercial development. Like I said, and when I say commercial, even though I know they want to develop it as residential homes, it's supporting more than one single property owner. So I don't think that would be something that we would support, is limiting them to $65, because if, as it was pointed out, they wanted to develop down to there, they would have to put this line in order to have looping or water from more than one source of direction. So they would probably not be our recommendation not to limit their cost to $65.
Not to limit their cost to 65, so that they would potentially pay more than $65. Okay.
Would it have been smart to put in an 8-inch main at the same time that the 30-inch main was placed there?
I'm going to let the Assistant Director for Utilities speak to that. He has a lot more experience with that and is be much more
Mr. Owen.
Steve Owen, Lincoln Transportation Utilities, 555 South 10th Street. It would seem logical to do that. That water main was put in 2006. I think the annexation was in 2017. Again, it goes back to the city does not provide tappable mains to the residents. That's provided through developers or through water districts. So it just wouldn't be, even though it seems logical, it wouldn't be part of our business model, so to speak. And the 24-inch main, or the 30-inch main that is there currently, was really to better transfer water from the Belmont pump station there at 14th and Superior out to the Northwest 12th reservoir. That's what its purpose is. The reason we don't let people tap to those mains is because they have variable pressure, they come in and out of service, and that's why we require looping, as Thomas said, with these smaller mains to provide service to properties.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? Councilman Shob?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Owen, thank you. Mr. Schaefer, thank you. So there's a large 30-inch transporting water across the city from pump stations to neighborhoods main there already. The applicant is asked to establish a district. Who will do that? If he establishes a district, does he still have to find a contractor to do it? Or the city doesn't? I'm puzzled. Help me out here.
In a district, if the typical steps would be that it would be ordered, created, we would design it, LTU would design it, LTU would bid it, LTU would construct it. And then when it's placed into service, let the property owners know it's available then for their plumber to do the taps. Now, a lot of times we will try to work with them while we have the pipe exposed, while we're doing stuff, if they want to tap right then, to try to help them with their cost. So we don't bury it, get it all back to normal, and then say, now you got to dig it back up and tap it. We would try to work with them so that their plumber can do that while the rest of the construction's going on.
While we're going down that line, Madam Chair, if you indulge me for a second more, the old numbers we had from the last time we had this conversation were $1.2 million for the entire project, about $840,000 city costs, and about $330,000 costs spread across each of the 10 properties, proportionate per frontage, right?
Correct.
And I think that was something in the neighborhood of $25,000 to $30,000 per neighbor ballparking. How is that paid? Do they write a check to the city for their square footage, or?
I'll let Laura give the details.
So the process that Thomas talked about getting it constructed, once the entire project is constructed, then the assessment would be done, and that comes back through the city council. So that would have a first reading, a public hearing, and then the amount would be levied. So if one's assessment would be $25,000, when it is levied, they could pay that example of $25,000 at once and avoid any interest payments, or they could spread it out for 20 years, and then there is an interest that is associated with that. That interest percentage is determined by the finance department, and those assessments are collected by the treasurer's office. Once that levy is placed, it goes against the property.
And that's months, years down the road after the district is established, and many other steps before we get there.
Yeah, we'd have to get the water main 100% completed and all the costs.
And if they don't pay it, a lien would go on the property?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Dutton.
I think we are through with our questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Schaefer, Ms. Peglis, Mr. Owen, Ms. Luttrell. And thank you all again, all the neighbors who come forward, the applicant, Mr. Spilker, and everyone else who's come forward to speak on this item. I know it's of great interest and concern to all of you. The applicant is allowed to have a rebuttal. Yes.
I'd like to point out that this was approved by this committee a year ago and brought to this council to be approved, and it was approved by them for you to approve. So the difference here is, I guess they're saying they didn't think things were different enough, and they're not pushing for this time. But they were definitely in favor of this and asking you to approve it last April. That's my first point. Second, I know the cost is high. For instance, on my parents' place up there, you're talking about an $80,000 investment just to put the line down. That's not to hook up. But it's worth that to us for the quality and quantity of water. We believe we're going to get that, and we believe we're going to get that out on the backside should that property ever be sold. The cost thing is definitely an issue. I don't like the cost any more than anybody else likes the cost. But I would challenge most everybody here. There's 10 property owners. Benny, you were saying it's about 20. So it's 10 divided by 330 is like 33,000 on average. So some have more, some have less. My contention to the cost element is most every one of those opposed to this drives at least one car that costs more than that, and they didn't have 20 years to pay for it, which you can do. The city has really worked to make this more palatable cost-wise by giving you 20 years to do so. So that's my point there, and I appreciate your time and effort here. And the other thing is, this, if you approve this now, it really doesn't set the district up. We go through the whole process that I started last June of 2023 in that they look at it, they decide whether it's something worthy to bring to you. You guys decide whether this special assessment district gets set up, and it's still this process. No matter what, so if you say yes today, is what I'm asking you to say yes, is to at least give us the chance to go through that process again, do the analysis, because this is not the final word. You would have another option to say no if that's what you eventually feel. We're just saying this is worth consideration again a year later. And to me, what's changed is time. Time has changed. And it just gets longer and more expensive to do so. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Councilors, this is the only item under, no, actually we have one more. We can go back. Let's move on to the voting session on resolutions.
Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for April 1st through April 15th of 2025, introduced by Carlson.
So moved. Beckius?
Second.
Weber. All right, any discussion on claims against the city? Madam Clerk.
Beckius?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 5B is Appeal Special Assessment Revolving Committee recommendation regarding the Water District generally located at Fletcher Avenue from North 7th to North 14th Streets, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Schob, seconded by Beckius. Discussion.
Madam Chair, again, this is an appeal. We don't look at that language, we just look at whether we approve or disapprove of the project, correct?
It is, yes, it is if it is coming to us for the first time as an application for an assessment district. So we either approve moving forward in the process of creating an assessment district, or we vote to stall or stop the process right now before it's been fully assessed.
Is that how you wanted to proceed?
That was the answer to my question, yeah.
Councilman Beckius, and then
Yeah, that's,
You want to
I
start?
think I have my understanding now, yeah.
I'm happy to start if.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. I will actually be voting to, while I seconded this for discussion, I will be voting to deny the original. This is not how development works in the city of Lincoln. And while we would be implementing potentially a special assessment district going forward, as best as I can tell, we have 3 out of 10 interested parties here. While we are putting within, while the idea here would be to put a tappable water source into Fletcher, you would be requiring 10 properties to, or no, excuse me, would not be requiring, I apologize.
Can I clarify?
Yes, ma'am.
Make sure I had this. So the code is, it's in health and sanitation 8.44, use of water wells within the city shall be permitted only when the water system is not available to the premises where the water is required. A water system for the purposes of this chapter shall be considered available when water distribution main can be tapped within 300 feet of the premises. So
we would look at requiring all 10 property owners.
yes, I can't speak to what enforcement of that looks like.
Sure.
But under the code, water wells are only permitted when water is not available within 300 feet.
Thank you, Ms. Luttrell. I appreciate that clarification very much. Additionally, according to the health department, we don't have wells that are endangering people's lives here. They may be unpleasant. However, there is mediation or remediation that can occur in order to make those water systems better. And as long as these owners are still outside of the 300 feet, they are grandfathered to continue to use their well and septic as it is in place today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Any other counselors? We can take a minute. A lot of stuff.
Well, and don't have to talk at all.
All right. All right, so we have a motion on the table. And if folks are ready to vote?
Yeah.
All right. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Schob,
No.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
No.
Weber,
No.
Washington.
No.
Motion lost 4-1.
All right.
Do we need a motion explicitly? Okay, Madam? No.
No other?
Denied.
It was denied.
Okay. Do we need a specific motion to deny?
Maybe we should.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to
We'll take a break.
Yes, we can take a 10-minute break.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for asking. We'll be returning in 10 minutes. TV. We will come back into session. All right. Madam Chair, let us move toward sixes. Public hearing ordinances, second reading, and related resolutions.
Item 6A is amending section 3.16.010 of the Lincoln Municipal Code to continue the local option sales tax rate increased by 1/4% or 1/4% from 1.5 to 1.75 for 8 years to pay for street rehabilitation, reconstruction, and new construction of arterial streets in all quadrants of the city.
Good evening.
Good
Council.
evening, Mr. Connolly.
Thank you. Chris Connolly, Chief Assistant City Attorney, 555 South 10th Street. Back in February, the council approved 3 resolutions. One was to set up an interlocal with the RTSD. Another was to freeze the impact fees in the event that the question passed on April 8th. And of course, the third one was to put the question to a vote on April 8th. That was now approved. And so the next step is having an ordinance that actually implements the sales tax, and that is what you have before you today. Based on the vote of the people, we ask for approval. Other than that, I'll be happy to answer whatever questions you might have.
Thank you. All right, councilors, are there any questions for Mr. Connolly? Mr. Weber?
So just to clarify and confirm, this is just next week when we vote on, or at the next meeting when we vote on this item. This is just enacting what was approved by the voters in the primary election. Okay.
That's
perfect.
correct.
All right. All right. Seeing no other questions coming from councilors, thank you. Is there anyone here in council, in chambers, who would like to speak on this issue? Seeing no one come forward, we will proceed.
Section 7, I'll call item 7A, amending the pay schedule for the employee group whose classifications are assigned to the pay range prefixed by the letter C, creating the classification Emergency Communications Technology Specialist, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
A second, please?
Second, I'm sorry.
Second, Shob. Thank you very much. That's Becky S. and Shob.
I was waiting.
All right.
Waiting for Carlson.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Shob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 7B is text amendment 24015, request of Planning Department to amend section 27.02.040C to revise the definition for club, section 27.02.070F, to add a new definition for floor area for accessory buildings, and section 27.02.190R to revise the definitions of recreational facilities, enclosed commercial, and recreational facilities outdoor, to clarify and simplify the definitions, to amend section 27.06150, commercial recreation and entertainment facilities use group, to amend the use group table to be consistent with the revisions to the definitions, to amend section 27.63.500, salvage yards, to make revisions to include Nebraska Parkway and Nebraska Highway 2, and to amend section 27.69.035, off-premises signs to add Nebraska Parkway, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Beckius, second, Shob. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Shob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 7C is change of zone 25006, application of Charles and Amy Smith to change the zoning designation from AGR Agriculture Residential to R1 Residential on property generally located at 6620 Elmira Lane, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Duden. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
All right.
Item 7D is change of zone CZ 24022, application of the Lincoln Lancaster County Planning Department to change the zoning designation from B4 Lincoln Center Business District to I1 Industrial District and O1 Office District to B4, I1, and O1 with historic overlay on the property generally located at South 6th Street to South 9th Street, J Street to N Street, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Beckius. Second, Shob, pardon me.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to amend Bill 2529 which was included in today's packet from the city clerk's office to specifically list the contributing properties to the historic overlay district.
All right. Thank you.
Second.
Yes, we have a second.
There's a motion to amend.
Yeah, the motion to amend. Second, Shob, thank you. Do we have any questions or discussion on this? Okay.
It looks like the property list is simply what was discussed at public hearing as contributing properties to the overlay.
All right. Thank you. No other discussion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
And now the main motion.
Weber,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
All right.
Item 7E is Street and Alley Vacation 24008, application of Gail McNair and other abutting property owners to vacate a portion of the alley on property generally located at East South 16th Street and north of Dakota Circle, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Shob.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to amend on Bill 2530, which was included in today's packet from the city clerk to resolve irregular planning issues for the vacated right-of-way, and to also, because the applicants are taking responsibility for the right-of-way, consider that adequate consideration for conveyance of the vacated alley.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Tom Duden. Discussion. All right, I think I'll add just my simple 2 cents. The applicants have actually initiated this process to correct a lack of oversight by the city on this plating. When the plating wasn't done correctly, the city did not come back and take care of that, and so the residents took it upon themselves to do that, and I appreciate their diligence on taking care of that. So I can vote to support. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
And the main motion, please.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
All right.
Section 8 is resolutions first readings are items 8A through 8G. Section 9 is ordinances first reading and related resolutions, items 9A through 9F. Section 10 is pending list, date certain, with one item, 10A. Section 11 is pending list, items 11A through 11E.
All right. We've come to the end of this agenda, and as I noted at the beginning of the session, this is the last meeting of the month, and so we have open public comment available today. Just a reminder, we ask that everyone identify themselves, give their address, unless it's waived for the security of the individual. If you're speaking for an organization, please note that as well. And you have 5 minutes to bring forward an item that is not on today's agenda nor scheduled for a future agenda.
Hello.
Good afternoon. We'll get you a microphone, just one moment.
And if I can show a picture, you know, that would be awesome.
Hello.
Thank you. You're getting a lot better. So what I'm talking about now is recently okay, here's the short story so I can keep going. I have a brother that, 20 years of abuse. And then my mom dies and leaves a trust, my mom and dad. And so he's the executor. And so we were having, a heated discussion over things in the past. And the short story is that, he said, I said, suicide. And he says, go ahead then. I said, I will. And then he says, go ahead. And so I sent him a picture then. And the problem is, this is funny. So I had to go to an arbiter, and they were going to decide whether or not I kept my waiver, which is my health aides. Okay? And so what happened is that they didn't. They canceled my waiver, in which I can't live. Now I can do for a little bit because, you know, I'm going to, you know, push this on. It's really frustrating, and can you tell me what I was talking about? Because that happens sometimes with my MS memory.
I believe you were talking about a waiver, but when you finished, I would like you to identify yourself and your address.
Okay.
And the brother.
Okay, so that I was talking about waiver, and so from the arbiter, what they said is they came back and said, you know, they don't approve of me, so they're gonna get rid of my waiver services. Now, here's the thing, you know, while you appeal this decision, you don't get your waiver cares. You don't get any of that. So basically, it's an eviction. I'm just letting you know. I thought this was something. So yeah, you know, and now I'm gonna I got the I'm gonna appeal, and the doctor that saw me in the hospital, Dr. Siddiqui, he's awesome. I've seen him before, you know, I've been there a few times. And then I told him that this was entirely due to my brother, and he understood. He believed me. He didn't even suggest any new meds. So what I'm hoping to do is bring this up and get rid of this ability for me to stay where I live, despite the other issue that I can bring up later. I'm just going to stop now on this one, and but I have anyway. I'll come back. What is it? Early next month?
Yes.
Okay. So the thing is that if I didn't have my you know, trust, which I'm using because my brother, you know, it's anybody, like if you push someone into something, and then you could find out that, you know, the purpose doesn't matter. You're gone, and you don't get while you're waiting for the appeal, you don't get services, waiver, you know, home health aides. So you're done. That's eviction, man. I just wanted to bring that to your attention because it's real irritating.
Thank you. Josephine, would you put your name in the record, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Josephine Litwinowitz, JOSEPHINLITWINOWICZ. And I'll talk about the next, I have, you know, I think I'm probably burnt out. Yeah, I'm pretty 4 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I don't believe we have questions for you today. Thank you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. The microphones are to your right or left.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you can turn this on if you would. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Got it? Okay. My name is Roger Lemke, Lempke. I live at 2501 North 74th Street here in Lincoln. And I'm here tonight just to give you a very brief summary of what's going on with the Pershing mural that's going to be going up here pretty soon, and a lot of exciting things going to be happening over the next few months. As you know, our motto all along has been education, interpretation, and memories. A little bit of history. 1957 was when the auditorium went up along with the mural on it. Jumping way ahead, though, it came down in 2014. 2022 was when we were able to get all the tiles, 763,000 tiles removed in a little bit less than a month. A year later, then the auditorium itself would come down. As you know, right now it's under There's new stuff going on there. Will be located in Wayuka Park, as you're well aware, and as you're also probably well aware, the park itself is undergoing quite a bit of renovation. The lake, their pond looks better than ever, and so forth. So we're excited now to become a part of that. So what that will entail, first, just a little bit of work to be completed here. We'll go up just a tad more. Is they're almost done with the tile, about 95%. So a few thousand left, and those will be ready to go. This is the current view that I want to pay a little bit of attention to here, if I can get it just right. You see the retaining wall. This will be the wall that's behind the main wall, and it's already been installed back in March. And I want to show you this because, again, looking across the bridge, you see that end to end. That's how wide the mural will be when it's up. And then if you look behind it, you see the trees. The top of the mural will reach almost to the top of those trees. So that's the site that you'll be seeing here later. Now what's going to happen next, though, is about 7 or 8 feet in front of that, they will begin putting up the main wall. And let's talk about that for just a minute. So the retaining wall that I just talked about has been completed. It'll be the main wall will be what's called a tilt-up wall. It'll be about 10 sections that'll go up, section at a time, very tightly controlled with regard to gap and all that. And it's a composite material. It's concrete and composite, so it's able to withstand the weather and winds and all that kind of stuff. So far, we've raised over 3.1. We've got about 1.2 to go. I want to emphasize that we're a part of Give to Lincoln, so if you can pass the word, we would very much appreciate that. If they simply put in Pershing and Merle, we'll pop right up for them to take a look at. On top of that, we've got a generous donor that's matching everything that's coming in plus more. So I think if we raise some money and Give to Lincoln, I think we will be there. And on top of the mural, and in addition to the mural itself, a 3D tactile model is currently being constructed. So those that have visual impairments will be able to go down to the Nebraska History Museum and through tactile means learn about what's on the mural and so forth and so on. So we're really excited about that. We will probably dedicate that in the October time frame, when there's a special time frame when they honor those that are visually impaired. There's also a curriculum that's already out there, and it's already being used in schools. It's being used from both an historical and also an art standpoint. I was at a school the other day, and the assignment for the kids, high school kids, was to basically create what they think would go on a mural in the future, i.e. not from the 50s, but in the future. So we'll see how they go. 6 lesson plans that are involved with that are going on. So if we get through Give to Lincoln, and we will be starting here very soon on the main wall, that's really what the final visual will be. Right now you see that visual with the retaining wall. That's what it'll look like with the mural. And I think it'll be a fascinating thing for Lincoln to have. And finally, just to reiterate here, there's more to it than just a wall. There's, as you've seen, an educational opportunity here that's going to be being used. There's an interpretation opportunity, and of course, all the memories that we all have from serving and coming to the auditorium back in the day. So any questions for me? And that was just under 5 minutes, too. How about that?
Slid in under the wire.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Lemke?
Roger, thank you for the update.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're fine, sir. Welcome.
My name is Fahim Rushidi, and I am a pharmacist and the owner of the A Street Market in Lincoln Pharmacy. Okay. I was here about a year ago, and when I was walking in, there was a kind person that walked me through. Actually, this is my first time. I never been to. This is my second time that I'm coming here. He gave me his card and said, if you have any questions, please feel free to call. And that ended up one of the councilmen here, so I left a voicemail, and that was Benny, so I appreciate that. That meant a lot. So that gave me the courage to come back again. And after 20 years of living, or more than 20 years in Lincoln, I'm still learning. So I brought a little personal experience and some interactions that I had with the Lincoln Police Department as a business owner. So I'm just going to specifically focus on that part of it. Now, just to be clear, I'm not against the police. I supported the police. I held the event with hundreds of people at the Embassy Suites, and there were, on how much we wanted to make sure we connect the Lincoln Police Department with the refugee families. As a refugee, I don't know anything about anything when I come here. The only thing I know is if I ask a police back when I was born, all I get is a slap on my face, and if there is any money in my pocket. But learning that, gaining that trust took some time. That's why we wanted to share it with the community. And I'm pushing that. And actually during COVID pandemic, I donated antibody testing to the Lincoln Police Department, making sure that if they go and work with their colleagues, that they are safe, and they go home, they're safe with their family. And I'll continue to do that. But in the past, I would say 6 months or so, at least at 6 different times, when we called the police to come for either an assault on employee or shoplifting or a problem that we had, the police officer comes and it completely disappears, like never follow up, never get back, and when you call them, they never pick up. Now, that's not a representation of the whole police department. It could be just 1 or 2, or my understanding or not understanding of the police duties. But one of the disturbing things was that there was one evening a drunk customer came to the A Street Market, bought some stuff, and then we employ minors that are between 16 and 18, students usually. So 2 of them were there along with the manager, and the police officer came and just left, like without giving. So these employees were shaken, like I just had to run there, and we had to call employees to stay until closing. And then I followed up with the officer's supervisor saying, hey, because these guys are minors, I have to at least have some information for the parents. The supervisor took my name, they will call me back, no follow-ups, nothing. So the thing got to at a different communication that I had with the even police legal advisor, Ms. Peters. I brought up these along with some other, non-related, some other information that I needed. Absolutely no, clear communications. Again, this does not mean the whole police department. It's just because when I communicate in the future with my community and teaching them about these things, I don't want to misrepresent what I did in that event. There were hundreds of people and covered by pretty much every media, still on there if you watch it. And at that time, Chief of Police Teresa Evans was very helpful, along with a lot of police officers that showed up and answering questions. That was amazing. But now when I see this disconnect, it's just a little bit discouraging. But the other part of it, on top of what everything was ignored, on 14th of April, I think there was a public urination. Now, all those things that were ignored on one side, there was a public urination, an officer went to our business saying if we have security cameras in the back. So I was driving around 9:30 p.m. from work after 10-hour shift, headed home. The police officer called me in the evening, and I said, I'm not going to assist you. 1, I just used my Fifth Amendment. I was like, I'm going to stay silent. 2, this has nothing to do with the pharmacy because the cameras are in the pharmacy, so I'm not going to disclose anything confidential of HIPAA-protected information to the police. So the next thing I see, the same police officers comes with the subpoena. Now, ignoring all that and then coming with this minor, I mean, that thinking of that area, my apologies, I ran out of time. Of all the other offenses that nothing was followed, including the chief of police that I communicated through several times in the past 2-3 months, flatly ignored. Then this subpoena comes in, and I do want to comply. It's a legal document. I want to give that video to this police officer, but I flatly think this officer's decision was out of ego, and that kind of scary to have a public servant to get to that, you know, emotion decision and serving a subpoena for something from a pharmacy that I am required by other law to protect patient information. Anything related to patient, I would be glad to provide. This one, I will still provide it because this will give the officer a reason to arrest me, and I don't want to disobey a legal document, but I feel like it was very disproportionately
Mr. Fashidi.
judged. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
no, you're well past your time, but I do have a question. Have you spoken with the police about the subpoena?
I called the person, the chief attorney, I think, the sheriff chief attorney, and asked what this is in there. Honestly, he wasn't even sure why he signed. He's like, well, the police brings it to us and we kind of work in the middle and sign it.
It's kind of hard for us to make a comment about some type of litigation or criminal investigation because we don't have all the information.
Yeah.
So it would be impossible for us to give you any advice, that sort of thing.
May I add one thing?
There is the the Citizens Committee that you could go to if you would like to have this discussed at some great length. There is the Citizen Advisory Board, Police Advisory Board.
Yep. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Hunter Dovenbarger. I live at 410 North Carrington, and I just wanted to share a speech.
Okay.
How would you feel trying to drive with wind strong enough to push a bus and extremely low visibility? That's what our city bus drivers were required to do on March 19th. Between the wind, snow, low visibility, and closed roads, drivers were ordered to get onto the interstate. According to Bill Rentschler, a meteorologist at 1011 News, the winds were strong even just at 2 a.m., with wind speeds at 20 and 30 miles per hour and gusts between 40 and 60 miles per hour. This continued until sunrise, with the wind still being between 20 and 30 miles per hour, and the strongest gusts measured in Lincoln happening at around 11:08, that was 74 miles per hour, and knocked the airport sensor offline until the next morning. There was very low visibility all day, with the highest point of visibility being 10 miles at 4 a.m. By 6 a.m., it went down to 2.5 miles, and by 7 a.m., it was 1.25 miles. By 8 a.m., it was under a mile and stayed that way until the sensor was knocked offline. According to Lieutenant Bridgerman with Nebraska State Patrol, the interstate at Northwest 48th and West O was closed by 5 a.m. and opened back up at around 11 p.m. Trucks were being diverted off the interstate and parked in Shoemakers by Northwest 48th and West O. By 11 a.m., semi-trucks had blocked all 4 lanes of traffic at Northwest 48th and West O. The next day, an email sent by Cedric Cooper, the principal of Lincoln Northwest High School, had to warn parents and students to be careful as there was a possibility of the parking lots and streets still being blocked by semi-trucks. In conclusion, I wanted to tell you that despite wind speeds, low visibility, and blocked roads, StarTran drivers were told to keep driving in those unsafe conditions.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ronette Dovenbarger. My address is 410 North Cottington Avenue, and I just have some stuff to share with you. Sorry, I'm going to get choked up. It's very personal. So.
Take a deep breath. It's fine.
On March 19th, my husband, Todd Dovenbarger, was involved in a serious accident. He was driving on the interstate and was blown across 3 lanes. He hit the median, and his head hit the window, which spider cracked from the point of impact. He immediately called in and was waiting for a supervisor to come assist. While waiting, he was sideswiped by a semi. He then placed a second call to the supervisor, informing them of the second accident. While he continued to wait, he was rear-ended by a second semi. The third call, after reporting, he asked if they would please come get him out of there. State Patrol showed up, and the supervisor was still not there. After a report was taken, tow trucks arrived to hook up the bus to tow back to StarTran. After the bus was hooked up to tow, the tow truck operators offered to give him a ride back to StarTran, as there was still no supervisor. They were about ready to pull out when the supervisor finally arrived. The first supervisor was not able to locate him, so a second supervisor had been dispatched. So the question is, why was a StarTran bus doing on the interstate? As my daughter reported, the snow and the wind closed the interstate at 5 a.m. Semis were pulled off the interstate at Northwest 48th and West O, which soon blocked all 4 lanes of traffic. This prevented city buses from completing the Air Park routes. Supervisors were telling drivers to take the interstate between Highway 77 and Northwest 48th. Article 2, Section 3 of the ATU agreement book states, employees shall work at all times in the best interest of the city. They shall operate and handle city vehicles carefully and with utmost regard to safety of passengers, public, and equipment. How about the safety of the drivers? My husband was following direct orders from his supervisors. His supervisors are following direct orders from CJ and Carla. The 2 uppermost management do not have the authority to suspend StarTran service during inclement weather that makes it dangerous to operate buses. The person responsible to suspend service isn't out there in the trenches to be able to see what the dangerous conditions are. He is currently in arbitration regarding to missed time. Workman's comp doesn't cover the first 7 days. His paid leave was used to cover those wages, which never would have happened had he not been ordered to get on the interstate. Article 8, Section 1 states, the grievance and mediation or arbitration procedure shall not be used to change any provisions of the agreement, personnel code, municipal ordinances, or filed for the purpose of getting established policy standard or procedure changed. Everybody knows that fecal matter will continue on a downward trajectory until stopped. We need to stop this now and give CJ and Carla the authority to suspend bus service when inclement weather makes operation dangerous for drivers. My husband's CT scan revealed no concussions, no broken bones. For his safety, he remained in his seat, safety belted, which prevented him from being tossed around. The seriousness of this is what would happen and what will happen when proper management has no authority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward?
My name is Anastasia Finner. I'm going to waive my address for my personal safety. I would like to first apologize to the family for the absolute failure of Lincoln to keep those bus drivers safe. That is obscene. It truly is. I would also like to read the. I would also like to condemn the anti-Muslim racism that happened recently at UNL, and I would like to read Student for Justice in Palestine's Lincoln statement. And it's on Islamophobia on campus. It says on April 15th, shortly after our event, hosting Nurse Massey, a physics teaching assistant employed by the University of Nebraska, harassed a visibly Muslim student. As the nurse described an Israeli strike on a mosque during morning prayer, the TA firmly raised two thumbs up toward the speaker, expressing support for the attack on Muslim civilians. At the event, Roland falsely accused Muslim students of placing an anti-Israel sticker near his home. The students did not respond to him. He then resorted to blatant Islamophobia, calling them evil and demonic, and used derogatory language to describe the Prophet Muhammad. Notably, the TA ignorantly said that the reason why Muslims overseas are dying is because they are not Christian, though Christian Palestinians are being killed by Israel. We understand that there is a deeper connection between anti-Palestinian hate and Islamophobia. The societal and institutional acceptance of anti-genocide rhetoric has manufactured his comfort for being both Islamophobic and anti-Palestinian. It is deeply concerning for an individual with hateful perceptions of Muslims to simultaneously be teaching Muslim students. Thus, we, Students for Justice in Palestine, urge UNL to hold accountable for his discriminatory behavior and acknowledge the connection between Islamophobia and Zionism on campus. We express solidarity with the Muslim community and Muslim victims that were harassed and hope UNL takes the measures needed to hold him accountable to prevent Islamophobia and Zionism from harming our students ever again. And because this body is so unmoved, I would like to let Basan, a journalist in Gaza, have a minute to speak.
This is Bisan from Gaza, and unfortunately I am still alive. I'm still alive and witnessing that for over 55 days now, Israel is besieging Gaza Strip and preventing anything from entering. I mean, food, products, medications, supplies, even a drop of water, nothing has entered Gaza. Neither the south nor the north, nowhere. And that over 55 people passed because of this forced starvation. 50 of them are children, with over 3,500 are still in the hospitals now with their helpless families facing the death because of the lack of nutrition.
That we are supporting.
Unfortunately, I'm still alive and witnessing that Israel is mass bombing everywhere. There is no single
that are built in
safe
Lincoln, Nebraska.
place in Gaza Strip, even the Mawasi area of Khan Yunis, because now it's a daily basis. At least 2 or 3 tents are bombed in Mawasi area of Khan Yunis or in the south. Tents with displaced people, helpless, hopeless people, sitting there for almost 19 months now without anyone turning around for them or doing anything for them.
That includes you not doing
that
anything.
Over 500,000 people are displaced from the eastern and the northern areas of Gaza City now. In a crowded tents, in a sewage, in destroyed places, in a narrow area of the west of Gaza, with nearly no infrastructure, no water, of course no electricity, no gas, even no wood for their fire to cook or to do anything, eaten by mosquitoes and flies, literally, in war tents. Fortunately, still alive and thinking of all.
When she started this video, she said she is unfortunately still alive because organizations like the Lincoln City Council continue to allow bombings to happen, bombs that are made in our city, a Superior and Industrial Avenue. Nothing has been done to curb that. There are still partnerships with Pepsi Cola, an organization that we know is doing a genocide, but instead there's, you guys go and spend your personal money in those services, in those vending machines outside. We also know that you continue to invest in banks like Wells Fargo and USA Bank, putting city dollars in places that give to Elbit systems that kill. I am not surprised that the city cannot take care of its own people, let alone anywhere else in the world.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address council this evening? Seeing
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
second Beckius, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes,
Motion carried 5-0.
we are adjourned.